Hello and welcome to Are We There Yet? MarketScale's online video podcast series that explores the most exciting companies, projects, organizations, and technologies in transportation today. My name is Grant Harrell, and as your host, I'll speak with the voices of today's most exciting projects and companies, truly learning what's at the cutting edge of transportation technology today. And today I'm very excited. We have an exciting episode, a leading organization within mobility, and that is the state of Michigan. Michigan's Economic Development Council, as well as their Office of Future Mobility and Electrification. Michigan very much has a long history, a heritage of leadership within automotive and mobility, and is doing some very exciting things today, continuing within that position of leadership. And today, very excited to speak with Charlie Tyson, Michigan's Technology Activation Manager. Charlie, hello, and welcome to Are We There Yet?
Thank you, Grant. Good morning. Happy to be here.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Well, we're so happy to have you. And as I mentioned, I'm very excited to learn about some of the exciting projects and resources that are available in the state of Michigan for companies, especially in the mobility sector. So really excited to learn about that. As I shared with the audience, Michigan is very much the global leader in innovation and truly is producing the next generation of transportation technologies. Through the state's automotive manufacturing heritage, your talented workforce, your testing ecosystem, and all of the incredible business resources that you offer, Michigan's mobility assets, truly are one of a kind and very unique within the world. And so for mobility companies throughout the world, for example, that might be looking for a new home to maybe expand or to relocate their operations, would you mind telling us a little bit more about the incredible environment and ecosystem that Michigan offers these companies?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you hit on it there, Grant, talking about our industry, the talent, the public sector support. I think the biggest thing that is attractive for global companies seeking growth and a presence in Michigan is really our industry. Michigan put the world on wheels. We say that often, but we're also doing a ton of things to innovate and and to ensure really that our market is competitive and it's place where companies of all sizes, mobility companies can thrive. I think just touching on industry with 26 automotive OEMs headquartered in Michigan or with tech centers, 96 of the top 100 automotive suppliers in North America have a presence in Michigan, or 50 are headquartered here.
Yeah.
And even just all the facilities with engineering, design, testing, and validation technology and capabilities. It's when it comes to industry, it's a hotbed here in Michigan. It always has been, and it continues to be. So I think that's one of the big things that is attractive to companies globally, and really helps us spur the acceleration of the mobility industry here in Michigan. And then you also touched on talent with 16 universities and colleges in Michigan with engineering programs. We have the talent here in Michigan, manufacturing, the engineering talent, and we're working to continue to support the workforce development needs of not only Michigan, but setting standards for the global market as well. And then the public sector support, we can touch on that further. But I think those are some key success factors of Michigan and how we continue to help companies thrive here in the state.
Definitely. Well, those are some incredible success factors. And just to hear about the many companies that are based right within the environment there, the collaboration with the institutions of higher education, as you mentioned, the many public funding programs that are available, as you mentioned, it truly is, I think, an environment unlike any other, and have really impressed. I think we're all aware, certainly of Michigan's heritage within automotive and mobility, but continuing to today, it's just really impressive that you continue to maintain that position as a leader within mobility and really are doing some very unique and cutting edge things to ensure that position and ensure that every company in the state continues to have support. So really want to commend you and the organization on that, and would love to even learn a little bit more specifically. I appreciate you touching on some of those areas, and I understand that the organization and you have very specifically identified some of the factors and some of the initiatives that are really important to continue that position of leadership and continue, supporting the many mobility companies within the area. I'm aware of kind of 6 key areas that you focus on in terms of initiatives, and those include things like increasing the mobility investment in Michigan, engaging more startups, for example, accelerating electric vehicle adoption in Michigan. I know that very much a leader in EV and integration, which is such an important area and a very timely topic as well. So, within some of those six areas, and just mentioning a few of them, one area of focus that I'm especially intrigued with is your engagement of mobility startups. I know that's a really important initiative for you and the organization. And even more specifically, I understand that you have a Michigan grant program that supports pilot projects and mobility startups, for example. And I understand too that you just recently announced what I understand is the fourth round of this incredible Michigan grant program. Would you mind sharing a little bit more about the program, and if you would as well, maybe a couple of examples of some successful companies funded through this grant program?
Absolutely. And this is also a topic that I'm super passionate about. There's really nothing more rewarding than working with an entrepreneur, seeing them
Yeah.
become successful, reaching key milestones, and being there to support along the way. It's something that, you know, when I wake up, that really is something that drives me to wake up every day and work as hard as I can in my current role. Is the entrepreneurs and
Yeah.
the startups that are changing the mobility market as we see it. So yeah, the Michigan Mobility Funding Platform is a way that we support startups. It's a grant program through our office, the Office of Future Mobility and Electrification. Um,
Okay.
it's a Michigan Economic Development Corporation funded grant program. Our office is unique in that it's comprised of team members within multiple state agencies within Michigan. So the grant programs run through the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, and it has two arms to it, or two types of grants to it. It has a real world deployment
Okay.
grant or a pilot grant, and that I can touch on that in a
Mhm.
second. The other grant
Yeah.
program within the mobility funding platform is the test site deployment grant. So we, over the last couple of years, have been working to build out a network of test sites in the state of Michigan. Some of them were already created. Some of them we helped kind
Mhm.
of create from scratch, if you will. But these test sites are throughout the
Yeah.
state of Michigan. They're a great way for companies, really of all sizes, but especially startups that have technology that needs further validation in a confined environment, a safer setting before the technology is deployed in a real world scenario. A few of these test
Mhm.
sites for example, our University of Michigan's M City. It's a urban test bed for autonomous and connected vehicles. The American Center for Mobility, 500 acres of test track, real world scenarios, highway settings, tunnels, etc. for all types of autonomous vehicle testing. And then
Wow.
we even given how we see mobility as the movement of people and goods by air, land, or sea, we know that we need to support startups that are working on, let's say, drones or maritime, for example, or off-road vehicles. So we've worked with Michigan Tech University in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. They have a number of test sites there. One being a notable one, the Keweenaw Research Center, helping companies with kind of off-road harsh weather conditions. One of their biggest assets is that they consistently have harsh weather, and most notably cold weather and a lot of snow.
Yeah.
They also have the Great Lakes Research Center. And then the two other pretty cool test sites that were recently launched would be the Detroit Smart Parking Lab. This is a test site. It's a real world environment test site. So it's what it is it's a partnership between Bedrock, one of the largest property developers and property owners in Southeast Michigan. They have over 50 assets throughout Southeast Michigan, including parking garages. So they had a vacant parking garage in Corktown, downtown Detroit, and we came together with Bedrock, Ford, and Bosch to create this environment at this vacant parking garage to test automated parking technologies, wireless charging for parking, etc.
Mm.
So that's a really cool one. And then also the other one would be the Grand Rapids Airport, working with in partnership with the Grand Rapids Gerald R. Ford International Airport and Southwest Airlines. We've created a test platform, if you will, a test site, but
Mm.
twice a year we award companies, startups, grant funding to deploy technology throughout the Grand Rapids Airport's operations. That could be at the baggage claim parking lot, runway, etc. They're looking at things, we're looking to launch technologies from startups that align with the focus areas of Southwest Airlines and the Grand Rapids Airport, including infrastructure, security, automation, etc. So that network of test sites is a really great asset for the state of Michigan, and something that startups locally and globally can and should tap into. And we have some grant funding through the mobility funding platform to help support that. As
Hmm.
far as the real world deployment grant, we have rounds of funding each year to help startups um, deploy their mobility solutions in communities throughout Michigan. The startups are required to partner with a Michigan-based stakeholder. That could be universities, transit agencies, automakers, etc. They just have to have a role in the project, and then the projects are funded partially through the mobility funding platform. And a few examples, as you mentioned, we just announced our last round. It's our not our last round. We have more rounds coming up, but our most
Yeah.
recent round 4 of the grant program, was really the theme for this round was mobility startups and university collaboration. There were 4 companies in total. We awarded uh, excuse me, $285,000 of grant funding. Projects are being deployed in Ann Arbor, Rochester, Dearborn, Novi, and Farmington Hills. So largely in the Southeast Michigan area. Some a really cool example. I could go on and on about this,
Sure.
but company out of Ann Arbor, a startup called Move It, they're
Hmm.
partnering with Lawrence Tech University and Henry Ford Museum to
Okay.
deploy their autonomous robots to help minimize staffing shortages and ultimately improve the customer experience at some of these key locations. So this
Wow.
autonomous robot will kind of make its way through the Henry Ford Museum with snacks and beverages, etc. So that's a really cool and unique example right there.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great example. Gosh, what exciting projects! I mean, those are all I think just areas that are such a topic of discussion nowadays, and just present some incredible potential, for the industry. And to hear that you have just such an exciting just test bed for demonstrating those technologies, working to commercialize those technologies, I think is what it's all about. So really appreciate you sharing a few of those examples. And I know you have such a great environment and so many great funding programs and support programs for early stage companies, startup projects, as you mentioned, and a couple of the great examples as you just shared. I understand, of course, that you also have some long-standing relationships and partnerships, with very well established automotive leaders such as GM, Ford, LG, for example. You mentioned the collaborative project with Ford. Would love to learn a little bit more, about some of these long-standing relationships with these established organizations within the automotive and mobility industry, and working on, many exciting new products and projects and technologies within some of these partnerships. Do you mind telling us a little bit more about some of these, long-term collaborative partnerships that you enjoy working with some of the more established automotive mobility companies?
Absolutely, and we couldn't do what we're trying to do and or have been able to do as far as attracting emerging tech companies to Michigan without the strength and the support and the commitment from Michigan's auto sector, and most notably Ford, GM, Stellantis, highly valued companies in Michigan. So one really cool example would be the state of Michigan and Ford Motor Company, along with the city of Detroit, announcing a partnership to activate the Michigan Central Innovation District. So there's a vacant train station downtown Detroit in Corktown. And a few years ago, Ford announced that they were going to renovate and really move most of their autonomous vehicle teams, electric vehicle teams, downtown Detroit at this soon to be fully renovated train station. And that's a credible commitment and
Yeah.
really great to see for the state. But recently, as I mentioned, the state, Ford, and the city of Detroit announced this innovation district around the Corktown, and it's really an effort to attract and retain highly skilled talent and high growth companies,
Hmm.
while also really supporting the neighborhood around Corktown. That's important. That's really something that Ford and the Michigan Central team have been really harping on, is the importance of supporting the neighborhood and identifying areas to support some of the challenges the local community are facing. So
Sure.
that's a really exciting one. And then you see some of these large, you know, deals, for lack of a better term, where recently General Motors announced $6.5 billion in investment for a new all electric facility, all electric vehicle manufacturing facility, creating 4,000 jobs.
Yeah.
You know, LG Energy Solutions investing over $1 billion in Michigan to expand their manufacturing of battery solutions. So I think that in addition to some of the more innovative and kind of innovation hub focused initiatives like the Michigan Central Station, we're seeing with the state support these large companies continuing to invest in the state of Michigan. So that's incredible and important for us to prove.
Very much so. Very much. Those are some very exciting projects. A big fan of the train station project. I think that's an incredible just project, just demonstrating innovation, the importance of the surrounding community, as you mentioned as well. And so I really believe projects like this will ensure that position of leadership, for the state of Michigan, for
Sure.
the organizational partners, such as Ford, as you mentioned, and also just creating more opportunities for some of these early stage technologies and startups that I know are so important to that overall environment as well. So really
Okay.
appreciate you sharing those projects, and a big fan of a couple of those myself. Speaking of recent announcements, another announcement that I'm really excited about is an incredible partnership where I understand the state of Michigan and actually three other Midwest states have really joined together to establish a Lake Michigan EV circuit, and what will be, in my opinion, America's best EV road trip. And so, fitting within the fun theme of the video podcast series, I know that audience members and families across the nation that have heard about this incredible project are asking, are we there yet? When can we hit the road in our EV and enjoy this incredible new the Lake Michigan circuit that you've opened up? So, would you mind maybe telling audience members a little bit more about the project, and when might be the time that we can all hit the road and enjoy this incredible adventure?
Absolutely. This is a really exciting one. And I born and raised in West Michigan, spend my time along Lake Michigan in the summers, and
Yeah.
just a beautiful place for those that haven't visited. Please come and enjoy the Great Lakes. So the Lake Michigan electric vehicle circuit is something that has been worked on for the last year or so, but we've hit a key milestone which I can share. So this
Yeah.
is um, an announcement recently. Governor Gretchen Whitmer announced a collaboration with Indiana Governor Holcomb, Illinois Governor Pritzker, and Wisconsin Governor Evers to really build America's next iconic road trip,
Hmm.
specifically for electric vehicles. So to reduce range anxiety, to allow families with electric SUVs or any electric passenger vehicle travel from, let's say, Chicago up to Mackinac City or Traverse City, or along the Great Lake Michigan, going up through Wisconsin, for example.
Yeah.
So this electric vehicle circuit, the Lake Michigan EV circuit, will be a network of EV charging stations spanning over 1,100 drivable shoreline miles.
Hmm.
It's kind of the next electric Route 66, if you will. So
Nice.
um, not only will this kind of help reduce range anxiety, but it also will reduce the environmental impact from carbon emissions. So I
Hmm.
think this it's really exciting. The chargers will be installed at key coastal communities and lighthouses, state parks, breweries, restaurants, etc. So it will help kind of continue to support the tourism industry for that's so important for so many of these cool towns along Lake Michigan. Some of the network's chargers are available today, so we are there.
Nice.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
You know, we're working with both the public and private sector to build out this network of charging stations. For example, we've about 3 months ago announced a partnership with Rivian,
Yeah.
a new electric vehicle manufacturer. They
Hmm.
put in vehicle agnostic level two charging stations at about, well, they've put in, I think, two or three at state parks, starting at Howland State Park. So kind
Okay.
of mid Michigan, but along Lake Michigan. And they're going to be putting in charging stations at, I think, 15 plus state parks along Lake Michigan over the next 6 months plus. And again, these will any vehicle can utilize these chargers. We're already seeing photos of people using it, and checking out Facebook groups, and people are excited about
Right.
them and using them. So when people with electric vehicle enjoy the state parks and the beaches, they're able to charge their vehicle while they're doing that. And
Yeah.
for the time being, those are at no cost as well. So that's exciting as well.
Very exciting. Very exciting. I love it. What an exciting project. And I can't wait to hit the road myself from Texas and head up there and
Yeah.
check out this new EV circuit. I think it's an incredible project. And I think, too, it speaks to, I think, just how the state of Michigan and the companies that you partner with, I think, just tackle, many of these obstacles, head on. If there's some issues with technology, then let's create an environment where we can demonstrate and improve upon the technology and overcome the obstacle. If range anxiety is a thing, which we know it is, within EV, then let's, demonstrate that there's no need for range anxiety. And you can even take a beautiful, trip around Lake Michigan and some of the surrounding states in an EV and don't have to worry about, charging stations. They're set up and ready to go for you. So I think it really, I think just is illustrative. I think your leadership and just the way that you overcome, these obstacles through these incredible demonstrative, partnerships. So congratulations on that project. And I know really looking forward to enjoying the circuit myself. So really appreciate you sharing the recent announcement of the Michigan EV circuit, and I know that there are just so many incredible announcements right now. I'm just really intrigued with all of the work that not only the state but your partners are working on as well. And so speaking to some of these recent announcements that I know I'm especially excited about, Michigan also just announced your governor signing of what I understand is a very important piece of legislation that promotes autonomous vehicles within the state. Would you mind telling us a little bit more about this important piece of legislation and how it truly is setting the stage for the development and commercialization of automated vehicles in Michigan?
Absolutely. This is definitely an exciting milestone to see and to announce. This is really the next step from a former legislation under Senator Horn in Michigan. So in 2016, the state of Michigan passed some legislation to allow the testing of autonomous vehicles. But this legislation, Senate Bill 706, is really allows the Michigan Department of Transportation to designate certain roadways in Michigan as autonomous vehicle roads. So
Yeah.
companies will actually be able to operate their autonomous vehicles on designated autonomous vehicle roads in the state of Michigan. So it's really a great step to help commercialize and fully operationalize autonomous vehicles here in the state of Michigan.
Well, Charlie, we've talked a lot about some of the different mobility programs, and specifically a lot of the initiatives within automotive, for example. But I know that you're involved in many other areas within mobility, and one area that I'm really intrigued about is your support of the aviation industry, and more specifically, even your drones and advanced aerial mobility projects. I recently learned myself about an especially exciting program that involves not only the state of Michigan but also the Ontario government, and this truly is a world class, one of a kind program, unlike any other in the world today. Would you mind telling us a little bit more about this aviation project that you're involved in?
Absolutely, Grant. This is a really exciting one. As I mentioned, mobility is multimodal, and this is a great example of just that. So
Mhm.
we know that drones can be a great way to alleviate supply chain challenges, reduce um, degradation of ground infrastructure, and a
Mhm.
number of other things as well. But we need
Yeah.
to understand and actually prove a number of things to be able to enable beyond visual line of sight drone delivery.
Mhm.
There's a few states that are making headway in that regard, but we are working to make Michigan one of the first states that to have urban aerial mobility corridors. And
Okay.
in effort to do that, in effort to get approval from the FAA for what's called beyond visual line of sight drone delivery,
Mhm.
we launched a RFP, and a company was awarded um, funding and support to conduct a feasibility study for the state of Michigan. This feasibility study was supported by MDOT Aeronautics. Actually, Ford Michigan Central Station has interest in drones, so they came in to support as well. And then the Office
Great.
of Future Mobility and Electrification. So company called Tally's, large aviation communication provider, and a local startup called Airspace Link are conducting a feasibility study to understand for the state of Michigan what type of infrastructure is required for drone corridors, drone skyways. What type of safety cases do we need to prove out? What are the ground risks? What are the use cases? How can this drone corridor benefit not only industry but local communities? And then we also, through our partnership between the state of Michigan and Ontario, which is thriving, we knew that it was important to look at cross-border drone delivery. That would be a first of its kind in North America, and so this study is looking at considerations, how different laws between Ontario and Michigan need to work together to enable drone delivery. So um, throughout this study, we're doing some testing of drones, doing pilots within visual line of sight. But over time, we'd like to set up, and the plan is to set up a couple key drone skyways or drone corridors. Again, one being cross border into Windsor, Ontario, one being Southeast Michigan, kind of layered on top of ground-based corridors, and then one being in Northern Michigan in a more rural setting. So we're really excited about the advancements we're making when it comes to advanced aerial mobility and drones.
Yeah, very much so. A very exciting program. The beyond visual line of sight, I know, is an important area to focus on right now and overcoming some of the obstacles there. So really exciting to hear of the work that you're doing, and truly one of a kind program. I look forward to keeping up to date and learning more about the success of that. So I appreciate you sharing that very much. We've talked a lot about support of next generation automotive. Appreciate you sharing some of the aviation and drone projects and technologies. But you're certainly not limited to just these areas. And I know that within that very broad term of mobility, there's a lot of other projects, technologies, verticals within that that you're very supportive of. Would you please tell us a little bit more about some of the other mobility verticals that you're involved in as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I touched on the maritime work being done through Michigan Tech University, but we've
Yeah.
um, seen an influx of interest and activity throughout the Great Lakes when it comes to freight, decarbonizing ports, moving goods from port to port is an initiative that folks are working on in the state of Michigan. So right now, most of the goods that are being shipped through the Great Lakes are mostly iron ore and different commodities or minerals, for example. But we're
Yeah.
looking to and working to with partners to move goods, auto parts, finished vehicles from port to port throughout the Great Lakes. It's
Great.
definitely a way to help decarbonize transportation and also alleviate supply chain bottlenecks by providing another means of moving goods
Hmm.
throughout the Great Lakes. So that's an exciting one that's still underway.
Hmm.
And then also just supply chain, kind of related to that a bit, but on the ground side, trucking and distribution centers. Like an exciting project would be that we supported was with Mitsubishi and Meyer. Myers is a large grocery store chain in the Midwest,
Yeah.
headquartered out of Michigan. So Mitsubishi partnered with Meyer to help automate one of Meyer's distribution centers in Lansing, Michigan. So when the semi trucks come up, they are then put on what they call a yard dog, and that
Yeah.
yard dog is essentially a vehicle that moves the cargo containers, semi truck containers throughout the distribution yard autonomously. And this is really an effort to help alleviate some of the staffing shortages that they're facing at Myers
Hmm.
and increase productivity and efficiency. So that's an
Yeah.
exciting one as well.
That's really exciting. Gosh, you really truly are involved, I think, in every aspect of mobility, from automotive to aviation, marine, as you shared with us, drones, supply chain logistics. Really incredible to hear just your involvement and support in so many areas within mobility. And so I think as we shared, earlier within the interview, an incredible heritage, for the state of Michigan and the leaders within automotive and mobility that you work with. And I think as evidenced today by all the exciting programs and projects that you mentioned, that position of leadership, will continue into the future. So appreciate you sharing, many of those exciting programs. As such, I can only imagine that today's interview is going to get a great reception. Audience members, individuals, organizations, I think worldwide are going to be excited to learn about these many programs that you offer, the projects, the collaborative partnerships, all within mobility. And so I can only imagine that many audience members are going to reach out to the Michigan Department of Mobility, Electrification, as well as the Economic Development Center, and be excited to explore, collaborating within some of the programs and projects that you mentioned today. Today's interview, of course, will be featured at marketscale.com, a premier business-to-business platform, and Spotify and Apple Podcasts, for example. So I know it's going to be a great reception, and would imagine you can expect a lot of outreach, with individuals that are excited to work with you. So would you mind maybe just taking a moment to tell audience members where they can learn more about your organization and some of these exciting programs and projects?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Grant, and to the Market Scale team. Really appreciate having us. Really appreciate being able to share the mobility opportunities in Michigan to your audience. We're always
Yeah.
happy to connect with anyone interested in learning more. We'd love to find ways to support your objectives, and we think Michigan's a great place to find success. So to learn
Yeah.
more, to connect with us, you can visit michiganbusiness.org/OFME. From
Okay.
there, you can always submit the contact us form, or you can check out the different programs that we have. Always happy to chat.
Very good, very good. Well, I definitely encourage audience members to do just that. It's an incredible website, just a great overview of all the projects and funding programs that you offer. And I think you've just made it real easy for individuals and organizations to learn more and to get started within these programs. So definitely encourage audience members to check that out. And really appreciate your time today. I appreciate your office, and for you especially taking some time today to tell us a little bit about these programs and projects. Really is incredible to hear about the many programs that you offer within mobility. So, Charlie, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks, Grant. Much
Yeah,
appreciated.
of course, of course. We're very welcome and wish you and the organization a continued success. And look forward to continuing to watch your updates and hear of all of the exciting programs that you're continuing to collaborate within. So, thank you again, and wish you best of luck.
Sounds good. Take care.
All right, thank you.